What is going on, Degen Nation? Kenny Kim here, bringing you another Fantasy Golf Degenerates podcast this week for the Open Championship. As usual, I'm here with my main man, Tyler Tamboline. Tyler, how are you today?
250, Kenny. Episode 250.
We made it. Don't
forget about that.
That's right.
I missed that in the intro, man. I'm excited. I'm happy to get back into it. We got a lot to talk about here. Huge Open that we're going to get to. We got the Lucas Glover turning back the clock. We'll get into that. Before we hop in, want to remind everyone very quickly, this podcast is brought to you and presented by DraftKings. DraftKings Sportsbook has a great offer for you guys. We're going to get to it a little bit later on, but it's pretty much free money if you're eligible. $50 that you can make pretty quickly. So promo code FGD when you go to DraftKings Sportsbook. And then lastly, Kenny, don't forget the tools we'll be using, fantasynational.com/FGD. Head on over there, get the same tools that we use, and get yourself 20% off your first payment.
250 episodes. I totally forgot. It's a long ass time. I've been doing this a long ass time. I had to get the new chair since everyone was making fun of me about the casting couch chair last week. That is, one of my favorite porn genres. So, you can't really beat that. The girl's like, well, what'd you bring me here for? I'm not doing that. Wait, how much? And then she looks like shit like that. One of my favorites. One of my favorite genres out there. As you can tell, we already started. I don't have to go to work till 7:30 tomorrow. So we got the juice going today. Let me take a sip.
Yeah, that wasn't easy. That wasn't hard to talk Kenny into. Pretty easy. He says, if I work at 6, no, but I don't work till 7 tomorrow. I can sneak one in. So we'll see how many you get through here.
We ready. This is going to be a good week. But first, before we talk about the Open Championship, I think I just pulled my hamstring doing that real quick. That thing hurt like a bitch. I don't know how they do that. But let's talk about the John Deere Classic last week. Glover. I mean, the old heads winning forever. Glover Sink. These old dudes just coming in out of nowhere and winning after decades of no wins. I mean, the dude on the Corn Ferry Tour, Tag Righties, he won. His last one was like in 2001. It was been like 20 years since he won. We had Richard Bland a couple years ago. 15 years since he won on the European Tour. So, again, all these old heads coming in the clutch, getting that W. Glover putted his ass off. He came through in the clutch. It was a tight leaderboard till the end. He sort of ran away with it near the end with about 3 strokes. Kevin Na making that bogey on 15 or 16, which crushed me. Of course, I was in like 4th place going into the bag 9. So second time in the last month. I was in 4th place in the $5 drive the green. And of course, it all went to shit on the back again. I finished top 25. So it wasn't the worst. I still won a few $100. But 50 grand would have been better. Other guys who performed pretty well that week. You got Mav couldn't make even went like 18 pars or something like that on Sunday. That killed me. Who else was up top? Tambo. Who else was up top? I'm trying to remember the leaderboard.
Yeah, Ryan Moore was up there. Luke Liss, Scott Brown, the old course history guy.
Scott
I was
Brown
a little bit. Shank was another one. Munoz.
Yeah, Shank. I had 190-1 last week on the betting segment. On the Fantasy Golf Degenerates betting segment. I also had them written up on Gub's Corner. And, of course, I told everyone to take the each way. So, hopefully, everyone took the each way. Or at least top 5 that bitch. Me, of course, I didn't because I'm stupid. But I was, really hoping for Shank win, too. So, nothing really turned out well. It was still fun to watch. I won a few $100, so I can't really complain. 300% return on investment. Other guys who, was up there. Hank the Tank, the top 10. The guys just, racking them up. Going up there, doing pretty good. Hagee sort of fell off a little bit on Sunday. But yeah, I mean, these events like these, whenever you have an easier type course, the leaderboard's so bunched, it gets sort of exciting on Sundays. It was pretty tight up until I'd say the last hour or so when Lucas Glover ran away with it.
Yeah, it surprised me you said you went from top 5 and only dropped to like 25th. I've seen scenarios the past couple of weeks where guys have been top 5 and then dropped to like 3,000th because of how quickly things change at the top of that leaderboard coming down the back 9 on Sunday. Just a couple of things you mentioned there. McNeely, I know he made the ace for us on the weekend there, but I think it's way harder to go around TPC Deer Run and make 18 pars than it is to not make a single birdie or like mix it in with a couple bogeys, something like that. Just seems extremely impressive to go around there and make a par on every single hole. But McNeely's still doing his thing, man. He's, keeps piling them in. So we'll see what he does from here. Glover, like you said, certainly turning it back, joining the group of all the other guys you mentioned, Matt Jones, Stewie Sink, even Phil picking up the win at the PGA Championship. Just everybody turning back the clock at these large odds when people aren't really on them. Glover was okay. I think Dave Tyndall had him. A couple guys out there in the community had him across the board, but certainly wasn't on my radar as far as betting was concerned. I was with you. I had guys that just missed in, who was it? Vegas, Rogers. These are all from the pod last week. And then one more. I can't remember if it was Kazire or who else it was, but it was just brutal finishes. And I did have the each ways and it still didn't get there. But overall, just another one of those events, man, really trying just to appetize to lean into where we're going to get today with the Open. And the pricing is soft, if you will. Talking DraftKings pricing, of course. The field is wide open. There's plenty of big names, lots of storylines, narratives, things that we'll get into here. So anything else on the John Deere Classic here, Kenny?
No, hell no. Let's go to the Open Championship. Actually, before we do that, we do have to go over our Listener League winner. And, of course, I'm never prepared for any of this stuff. So let me go ahead and bring the Listener League winner up. It was – all right, let's see if I can find it here since I have so many, blank screens with no wins on it. Oh, there we go. I actually placed in the Fantasy Golf Degenerates Listener League last week. They just gave me a big old star when I put the screen up. Mr. Vegas 128 was the winner. Yeah, Russell Henley, who sort of fell apart a little bit on Saturday. He only shot 3 under on Sunday. Finished in 11th place, 94 points. I think he was 16% owned. Zach Johnson, who I liked, didn't really do much on Sunday either. Luckily, I think last week you talked about Glover and Johnson, and I went Johnson, but I played Glover, so that helped a little bit. He finished in 34th place, had 83.5 points, about 17% owned. He had Lucas, 8% owned, 130 points. Of course, he won. Hank the Tank Leviota, 22.4% owned, 103 points, finished in 8th. Steve Stricker, old man Stricker, everyone thought he was going to miss the cut early on, right? And then all of a sudden, he just started bringing it on and then, once again, bailed on the Sunday, 23% owned, finished in 41st, 77.5. And Adam Schenk, who I loved last week, and I really wish he would have won because that would have made my week. 10% owned, 107 points, and he finished in 4th. What do you think of the lineup?
Oh, yeah, really solid build. Sort of the textbook that we talk about, in the past at least, where we've got a couple guys over 20%, a couple guys in the teens with Henley and Johnson there, and then 2 lower owned guys in Glover and Schenk. I do like what you just mentioned there, the Johnson play. Remember last week, I also liked Ryan Moore, who was right there. He ended up putting up 120 points right underneath. Kind of had a similar course history, not quite the Zach Johnson course history or Stricker course history, of course. But yeah, back to Stricker, the Thursday tilters, man. You know me, they got to go. Can't stand them. Pronounced dead at age 54 after 9 holes. Can't make the cut. No chance at all. Bang. And it's not like he crushed. He only got 77 DK points in the end. But I'm just saying, Cam Davis was about to repeat. If you followed after 9 holes on Thursday, Cam Davis was going to go back-to-back, and Steve Stricker was dead on arrival. So that's just the way it goes. Cam still had a pretty good week, but I'm pumped about this guy. This is a sign or a calling, if you will. Not sure anybody what they're watching Manifest on Netflix, but Mr. Vegas, that's pretty lucky. And 128, Kenny, January 28th is my birthday. So this is good signs and good mojo coming into this week to bring across. I like Mr. Vegas 128, got him into the Tournament of Champions, and we'll certainly have him in the 3-man this week. Shout out to Hot Soup. I know he had himself a pretty good week there as well. 3 lineups in and just finished right behind Mr. Vegas. So another good run in the Listener League for him.
Yeah. I don't know what to say. Well, talking about your Mr. Lucky, I mean, didn't you have 2 straight top 25s in the Millie Maker going for 3 in a row? So what are you, like the Tony Finau of Millie Makers right now? See if you can come across the board and try and get it done, which I don't think Tony's going to do this week. Of course, I say that now. He's probably going to win, so put your money on Tony. But let's get to this week and let's get to the course. I sort of might have went a little bit overboard on the course preview and stuff like that. So just just bear with me as I go over everything for the Open Championship. The best players in the world, they had the Southern England for the Open Championship. The Open, always a little bit different when it comes to DFS. First off, the weather plays a huge factor. It's almost impossible to know what the weather is going to be like until just a few hours before, it actually happens. So, you've already seen some sites this week saying Thursday morning, 30-mile-per-hour gusts, Friday afternoon, 30-mile-per-hour gusts. I've seen some where it's 18 to 25 miles per hour steady throughout the whole week. I mean, you just really don't know what's going to happen. So my first bit of advice for this week is going to be wait till the last possible minute to make your lineups and create your player pool. Wave advantages occur more at this event than any other event. If you see a noticeable weather advantage, I'd probably pound on it. And by saying pound on it, we've talked about this before. I go 60% for that wave advantage, 20% the opposite wave, and 20% blend. If you see a substantial wave advantage coming through, just so you have all your bases covered, but you still have the majority of your lineups in what you think that the weather advantage is going to be. The first tee time is around 1 a.m., midnight Eastern, around there on Thursday. So I would wait till Wednesday evening to go ahead and make your lineups. Another reason this event can be difficult is for DFS purposes, that your stat model probably means less than it does in any other event throughout the whole year. Links golf is just different. You only see it about once a year on the PGA Tour, and there aren't really strokes gained stats. For these events, your typical strokes gained stats have relatively small meaning here, outside of maybe strokes gained around the green, which would be super important, especially if the wind blows. I'm still going to use them. But I would look more like open form and how a golfer plays in the wind and how he plays in difficult courses. Also current form. A few trends via Jeff Ulrich, a friend of Mayo Media Network, at the Fantasy Grind on Twitter. 7 of the last 9 winners of the Open Championship have been 32 years or older. 7 of the last 8 winners of the Open had recorded a top 20 or better in one of the year's first two to three majors. Now, 14 of the last 15 winners of the Open finished tied for 9th or better at this event in a previous year. The first trend basically shows that old guys are pretty much live. You saw it with Darren Clark in 2011, at this event at Royal St. George's. I think this is the case just because experience is needed on links courses to perform well. Like I said, it's a different type of golf. Creativity and playing shots outside the box, it's going to be a necessity. This usually comes with experience on these courses. Now, this new crop of extremely young, talented golfers like Hovland, Morikawa, and Scheffler, they're probably the only ones that play predominantly on the PGA Tour with zero Open experience. They might be the only ones I take a look at. Even they might have a tough time this week. The last two trends, of course, show a need for solid Open form throughout one's career, and then good form, especially in majors. Last thing before we get to the course, it is top 70 ties for the cut this week. I still expect with the weather and stuff like that, maybe wave advantages, there could be some carnage. But this might make it a little bit easier to cope. We'll see. Now, Royal St. George. It's about a 7,200-yard par 70 with 4 par 3s and 2 par 5s. The length really depends on the wind. It's a traditional link-style course, so the front 9 all goes in one direction, back 9 comes all the way back. So if the winds are east to west, one of those 9s is going to be wind at the back. One of the 9s is going to be wind right at your face. So it's going to mess with the actual distance of the course. Also, if there's a crosswind, that's just going to make the course play longer. There are 2 very lengthy par 3s, which would be more than likely have an over par average score for the week. They're both around 240 yards. They're going to be tough. I mean, if the wind's in the face on those 2 holes, some guys might even pull out driver. We'll have to see when it comes down to it. When the par 4s, 7 of them are under 450 yards. 5 of them are over 450 yards. The par 5s should be reachable by all if the fairways are firm and fast like they're planning. Of course, that's wind dependent as well. Now, there's been a bunch of rain, and the course superintendent has said that the course is quite green. Now, they are going to do everything in their power to make the course fast and firm, but this is something you're going to have to keep an eye on as the week moves on. Off the tee, the fairways are average in size, and they actually widened them a bit since 2011. Now, if the fairways are firm, this will shrink the fairway width. This will make scoring much higher and make the tournament much more of a grind for everyone. If the fairways are soft, you'll probably see a bit more green in the regulation, and you'll probably see a little bit lower scoring. I don't think it's going to go above single digits on their par, but we'll see when it comes to the wind and all that stuff. There are large pot bunkers in the fairway landing zones. If golfers land in these bunkers, sometimes you're going to have to punch out sideways or backwards. If they miss the bunkers and the fairway, they're going to have to deal with thick fescue rough. Sometimes it's going to be around knee high. Now, all this screams for accurate off the tee golfers, but once again, the firmness of the fairways comes into play. If they're firm, the bombers won't need driver off the tee. They're going to use lower clubs. They're going to be more accurate clubs. It's going to emphasize the rollout. This is another reason stats can probably be pushed back, a little bit more on the back burner a bit this week. Smart strategy off the tee will be more important than any off the tee stats you're going to see in your model. It's really hard to judge who will play smart, but a good indicator of this will be experience on links courses and at the Open Championship. Even if the fairways are soft, I doubt we'll see too many drivers by the heavy hitters outside of the par fives unless the wind is brutal. Now, the one unknown off the tee is going to be luck. They're rolling fairways here with humps and mounds all over the place. A great-looking tee shot can become, disastrous if it takes a bad hop off a mound, might bounce into a pot bunker, might bounce into the fescue. Luck can play a huge factor at the Open Championship, probably more than any other major that we see throughout the year. Now, on approach shots, golfers are going to see above average size undulating greens with some runoff areas and pot bunkers surrounding them. Wild approach shots are going to get snatched up by that long fescue grass. And if the greens are firm, getting it up and down from anywhere is going to be a challenge. And I don't expect the greens to be insanely fast because of the possibility of strong winds. This course has zero protection. You might not see a tree the whole week. I don't even know. I don't know. Maybe one. But there's not going to be very many trees. There's no protection on this course. So basically what's going to come down to is golfers are going to need to be really good with the short game. They're going to need to be and ovid three putts. I think those are a couple of things that are going to be super important. What are you looking for this week, Tampa?
Wouldn't be a major without trends. Give Kenny a follow on Twitter at TrendoVT. Got all the trends for you.
Hey, I took that from Jeff Ulrich on that one. I love it. He does that well too.
The people love the trends, Kenny. They always love the trends. But I'm with you. You know what I'm doing though at majors, man. I'm always looking at the same thing. I do agree with you for the most part. When you hear me go through these golfers today, there's not going to be a lot of this stat, that stat. A lot of what you said is true there. But for me, it's a major. I'm always looking at long-term stats in general, just like you said, the experience factor, who's played well on links in the past, maybe some names that pop with good prices, possible leverage. We'll definitely get into the tiers. You mentioned the weather, wave stacking, potentially always in play at an Open, something you want to look for, a few years ago now, but we had the Stenson Phil runaway. That was like a 2-stroke advantage that if you just went all in on that wave, you were probably in good shape, probably had a lot of Phil and Stenson and made your way to the top of the leaderboard. So that's certainly something. As far as the stats go, like you said, there's going to be, fairways, greens, good hands around the green, putting, bogey avoidance. And I think, like you just said, the all-around player, like always, because at the end of the day, there is going to be luck involved. And if they get unlucky, that's okay. They might have to click back out of a pot bunker, chip it up on, make their part, take their medicine, get a bogey. But if they're playing good golf for the most part and all around, like a Rahm, who we'll get to in a second for obvious reasons, he's the most expensive for a reason too. But just to give you that idea, we'll go through some of that here in a second. Now, before we get into the tiers, Kenny, I do want to toss up that offer. This offer this week is from DraftKings Sportsbook. DraftKings Sportsbook is not only my favorite sportsbook, but also America's top-rated sportsbook. I love using DraftKings Sportsbook. It is easy to navigate, has plenty of instructions for new bettors, and nearly limitless ways to get in on the action. My friends and family have been loving DraftKings Sportsbook, and I know you will too. Listen to this great offer. Place any pre-tournament wager of $1 on any golfer outcome to be eligible to cash $50 in free credits if any golfer sinks a birdie. Yes, that's 50-1 odds on any golfer sinking a birdie during this weekend's tournament. 50-1 odds on an offer like this doesn't come around often, so sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook now to get in on all the action. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable, so you can deposit and withdraw your funds at your convenience. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code FGD when you sign up to turn $1 into $50 in free credits if any golfer sinks a birdie this weekend. That's, again, code FGD to turn $1 into $50 in free credits for a limited time only on DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 years or older, NJIN or PA only, new customers only. Winnings paid out in site credits. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or in Indiana, 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
It's a hell of an ad read there, Tam, but we need to get more of those on the pod. I mean, I have to do it like smoke Newports. They might kill you, but that minty fresh is delicious. Or like, eat Kit Kat key lime pie flavor. It's not your mom's key lime pie, but it's fucking close enough. We could be like the anti Pat Mayo, because everything on Pat's show is so like healthy. All his ad reads are like for this healthy type shit. We could do everything for like the opposite. Everything that's bad for you, we will sell the fuck out of it here on the Fantasy Golf Degenerates podcast. So hook us up. We got you, all right? But anyways, let's get to these tiers for this week. In the 10K range, we have Xander Schauffele all the way up to the Spaniard, Mr. John Rahm. How you going about it this week, Tambo?
Yeah, you heard me just mention Rahm. Hey, we got this wrong last time, me personally, especially with the Bryson DeChambeau should be 14,000, then goes on to miss the fucking cut. But Caddygate, we talked about that. But John Rahm, this seems odd to me. Like, how is he only $400 more than Rory, let alone the other ones behind him? In my opinion, best in the field for sure. If you look last week, a standalone 7th at the Scottish Open for his warm-up. If you watched any of it, it looked like, man, he didn't even play. He played B golf, B- golf. It was really nothing for him to come over and do this. He's the U.S. Open champion. I don't think that matters. We knew he was going to get a major at some point. It looked like pretty quick. Sure enough, he went out and executed that after that third round unfortunate withdrawal at the Memorial, when he probably would have won that too. So likely the highest owned golfer up here for me is going to be John Rahm. But then I'm going to talk to you about another guy here, and I'm not sure. Maybe you can tell me where the ownership might be when I flip it back. But Dustin Johnson, and it's all the sandwich jokes, Kenny. Dustin Johnson likes sandwiches. He liked the Masters sandwiches. He won the Masters, but we're now in Sandwich, Kent, England. And he's sandwiched between Brooks Koepka, the major champion extraordinaire, and Xander Schauffele, the guy right below him, who everybody likes to play in majors at 10,000. But I do think, boomer bust aside with Dustin Johnson, I do actually like him. I especially like him in large field tournaments. I feel like most will be on the others. And I know it's way back in 2011, but he does have experience at this very course, at the 2011 version, coming in second place. So Rahm, DJ for me. Brooks definitely is in the mix. You just can't say enough about what he's done at majors. And I just always go back to that Justin Ray stat where he literally is still beating the entire field by like 50 plus strokes over a sample size of like 4 or 5 years in majors. Yeah. It's just, he's different. He's just different when it gets to those events. I'm interested to hear your takes on Rory, Xander, and the others, but I think DJ and Rahm make for some good plays up top.
I'm going Koepka as my first cash game cornerstone. I mean, at 10-7, I think it's still value for Brooks Koepka. Like you said, the numbers lay it out for him. His track record at the Open Championship was pretty fucking good. I mean, I don't really have much to say. Everyone knows it's major time. It's major season. It's Koepka season. I'm rostering Koepka as my first cash game cornerstone. Rahm, I'm going to play Rahm. He's probably my second favorite play on the board. Again, you really can't go wrong with what he's doing. The thing about him is he plays well in the wind. He plays well in difficult courses. Last 50 rounds, he's top 10 in both of those in strokes gained total, in difficult courses and in the wind. It just makes a lot of sense. I am going to play 3 guys here. I'm thinking I'm going to play the lowest owned out of the other 3. I'm going to wait till Wednesday night, get my ownership projections, Gup's Corner, Fantasy National, wherever the hell you get your fucking, ownership projections from. That's where I'm going to go with the third. And I think it's going to be Rory. I think Rory might be the lowest owned in this. I am no ownership guru. I'm not Brad Messersmith up in here. Old school for the 250th episode for all our old school fans, bringing back old Brad out there, old BMS. But I mean, I think Rory could be the thing, and he does pretty damn well at these Open Championships, and I think that you can get some value at a lower ownership, 12%, 11%. Rory, I can do that. You get 20%, you double him, you have the leverage, and then I can go ham, still go 40-40 or 50-30 with Rahm and Koepka and still be good to go when I make my 60 lineups this week. So that's probably the way I'm going to go about this week. I want to wait till the ownership comes out and pick a third one between DJ, Xander, and Rory, because I don't really think at this point there's a bad play. I mean, of course, hindsight's 2020. We'll talk about this next Monday and be like, that was a shitty fucking play. What the fuck I was thinking? But I mean, at this point in time, you're not going to see that with these 5 guys. I'll play the ownership game with the third guy, because when it comes down to the 9K range, I'm not the biggest fan of a lot of these guys. I don't think I'm going to play Bryson. Jordan is worth it, but I'm already seeing 26% Jordan Spieth being projected out there. And the worry, of course, with Jordan is the driver. And he's not that long. I don't know how much he'll be able to club down on some of these holes, especially if the wind's in his face. So he might be the ones that have to put out the big stick just a little bit more than some of these other guys like a Rahm or a Rory, or somebody who pounds it out there. So a little bit worried about it, but everything else about Jordan's game fits. I'm just looking at everything. He's one of the top guys. He's actually number 1 in my model. But again, we're not really looking at models. And of course, he has a stellar track history here at the Open Championship with that win a few years ago. And the game makes sense, but I'm a little bit iffy about him. JT, I think I can get behind him, but I really like Usti in this range. He's probably going to be my favorite play when it comes to GPPs, just because, the game has been so good. His putting has been so strong. He avoids bogeys. He doesn't make too many three putts out there. He's pretty strong around the green. I mean, if you look at it, the only person in the top, in the 9K and up range in the last 50 rounds who's better than him at strokes gained around the green is Spieth. So, I mean, all the tools are there. And, of course, he has that major, record out there. He always completes back-to-back runner-ups. I think now, how many runners do we have? Like 42 runner-ups in major championships? I mean,
I think it's actually 6, and that's really crazy.
Yeah.
How he can actually have so many more majors if he could close.
So, I mean, I think he makes sense. But my second cash game cornerstone is going to be Tyrrell Hatton. If you look, a lot of people call him the best links player in the world. It just makes a lot of sense to go out and play him. I mean, if you look, I forget who posted it on Twitter. I think it's PGA Splits 101. If you go at PGA Splits 101, if you go check out his Twitter feed, he does a strokes gain table for links courses. Irish Open, Scottish Open, Dubai, a couple of other links courses out there for the last 5 years. And Hatton's right up there in the top 10 in strokes gained total in those fields, in those events. So I just think he makes a lot of sense in this field in a links type course. And I think 9K is a reasonable price for him. So I'm definitely going to play Usti. Hatton's second cash game cornerstone. We'll see where I go after that. I think I bet Hovland a while ago at 50-1. I'm not sure if I'm going to play him. You got JT and Spieth up there, a little bit more experience on these courses. And like I said, the only guys that I think possibly can do well with zero experience on links on the Open Championship, probably Kawa and Hovland. But I don't know if I'm playing either one of them.
Yeah, I kind of like both of them, but just real quick, backing it up, because I'm not going to spend a lot of time in this 9K range myself here, is the Rory one is interesting, right? Because if you think back, he's crushed the Open. If before last year's miscut at his hometown event was what, 2nd, 4th, 5th that I saw he came out. Last year, if you recall, it was maybe a different type of 8-ball than you're used to out of the gate, but it was an 8-ball, 8 snowman right out the gate. His hometown event, battled back on day 2. I remember having so much heart myself poured into that. It wasn't even because I had a bunch of ownership. I was just cheering for Rory being in his hometown event and making that comeback. I really wanted him, and all the Thursday tilters. I was dying for Rory to upset them a little bit like we talked about earlier, but still you see that. And I saw a stat today. I forget who posted it, Kenny, but Rory after miscuts, just any miscuts in the world, how he does after them. It's pretty incredible how he comes back out the next time. So he does make for an interesting play up top. And if you don't love this 9K range, I guess we buried the lead a little bit here, Kenny. There are guys that we will be talking about in the 6K range and even at the bottom of the 6K range. So you don't have to shy away from just using 2 or 3 of these guys up top if you don't personally love the 9K range. As far as ownership goes, just one more note on it because you mentioned it, but I think it's pretty clear to me, Rahm and X will be the highest 2 owned, and they'll be paired together. And if they're not, some will start single entry with Xander, just based on his history in majors, his record, his price, overall value. I think that's just going to become a common theme. Brooks, based on how good he does in majors. So I really do think you're right. I like DJ. You like Rory. Those are some good pivots that you can go with right there. So dropping into this 9K range, I do worry. I've been the Louis Truther before he was, there's lots of other good Louis Truthers out there, don't get me wrong, that are doing content, but I'm saying we've been talking about him in majors since he was actually like 3 to 5%. And now he's going to, last event, he was what, 18% and still did his thing.
Well, the thing about him is he's become more consistent. He has multiple top 10s in the last couple of months, and he hasn't withdrawn. And from what I hear, he drives his RV, I guess, for the PGA Tour. I don't know if he has his RV all the way in England, but at least for the PGA Tour, he drives his RV to all the events, so he has his own fucking bed. So you don't have to worry about, like bad neck sleep, Usti anymore on the PGA Tour because of that. But now you have me worried because now he doesn't have his RV at the Open Championship.
You talked your way into it. All I was going to say was is this where the wheels fall off? Because you know what I mean? Obviously, he is that good. It doesn't just happen that you finish second all that often. Same with Finau, who we'll get to, don't worry. But I'm just saying, it looks like it makes a lot of sense. But then you look at the guys that are around him, and experience aside or not, Kenny, we've got some serious names here. Morikawa, what he's done since coming on tour, WGC, a tour event, PGA, the PGA Championship, a major himself. If you look, he actually went over to Scotland, get acclimated. It was a brutal finish for him. But if you look overall before that, I got here 4th, 2nd, 14th, and 8th. Like, he's got the game. And as always with Morikawa, it's whether or not the putter shows up. If it does, the field's in trouble. He can go on and just score will. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes overall. He's got a lightning game as far as making cuts goes, being able to have the all-around stats required at a course like this. And then JT sitting there at 9,600. So similar to Rahm, he went over to Scotland very quietly, T8. Barely played his game, to be honest, if you watched any of it. Like, him and Rahm both played good, obviously, to finish where they did, but it was a pretty solid field. We talked about it last week. It was a strong field, much stronger than the John Deere Classic, obviously, but he went over and did his thing. He finished 11th at the Open last time out. And then the other thing about JT is when they try and price him like this in strong fields at tough courses, the last time they did it was the Players, 9,900. He shipped it. The time before that, they priced him at like 8,800. I remember fading it for game theory reasons. Terrible idea. He shipped it. So 9,600 is a really good price. And especially, I know it's the Magic Beans. This is where Spieth brings them out. RIP Kuchar's major chances. You remember what happened there? The 20-minute, shebang back and forth where they were trying to figure it out. Spieth goes on to tilt him and then wins the thing. But Justin Thomas right there at 9,600. So Thomas, Morikawa, two of the best ball strikers. I like your Hatton call. And then I like Hovland as well, just to, take a flyer on down there at 9,100.
You might have talked me into Justin Thomas. He might be the second guy I played GPPs in the 9K range. We'll just see how that goes. And like you said, there's plenty of options, low price that we can go to make these things work. Now let's move to the 8K range. Again, not a fan of this range. Let's start with Tony Finau. Justin Ray posted this earlier today. The only person to finish top 10 at both the 2018 Open Championship and the 2019 Open Championship is Tony Finau. I got one word for that. No Finau for me this week. Well, let's take a look at his current form. Travelers 127th, US Open 104th, Memorial 32nd, Schwab 20th, PGA Championship 8th, Wells Fargo 94th, Masters 10th, of course, back-to-back top 10s at major championships while I'm saying this. But then, 79th at Valero, 99th at the Players Championship. The form, I just don't think is there for him. I say that now, and he's going to finish 4th again and crush all my GBP lineups because he's going to be 20% owned at this price. But I don't think I'm going to go Tony. I will go with my third cash game cornerstone this week. It's going to be Mr. Patrick Reed. Again, another guy who performs extremely well at difficult courses. Short game is there. When it comes to clutch putting, he's one of the better ones out there. Rarely ever 3-putts. I think he's 3rd in the field in the last 50 rounds in 3-putt avoidance. One of the masters around the green, can putt his ass off when it comes down there. And I think it's going to come down to that short game when it comes. And I really like him in cash. So he's going to be my third cash game cornerstone. Outside of that, I might play some Fleetwood. Another guy, I think he's top 5 in strokes gained total in links courses in the last 5 years. Links specialist. We don't have to play him in the United States. His ass ain't going to win in the U.S. But in Europe, maybe. He can come close. Top 10, top 5. I don't hate Fleetwood in this range.
Yeah, I might have to go back and listen to those trends a little bit closer, and maybe I don't know if we'll buck them or not, but with the other guy that popped in for me, you just mentioned Fleetwood, but a couple spots up was Scotty Scheffler. And I know you linked him into those names earlier. You definitely wouldn't link my boy Willie Z, who you said was dead. And he went over to Scotland and did his thing last week, and decent enough finish to get acclimated, but so did Scotty Scheffler. Scotty Scheffler, T12, popped up a 63 over there. And if you look at majors, here's his finishes: 19th, 4th, 18th, 8th, and 7th. Nothing worse than a 19th. That's the 5 played this year. He's a Texan, so wind should not be an issue. He can be creative. We've seen that in the past, and you don't need to go extremely low here. You just need to be able to not make those mistakes. But if you can go low, even better, because like I said, then if one of those mistakes happens or you get unlucky, you've got a way out. So I do kind of like Scheffler. I saw your tweet for sure. That was the first thing I put in my notes about Tony Finau. I saw the tweet. I'm sure it rings home with a lot of other people, myself included. but it is pretty annoying how good he's been in majors. Top 10s in majors, third, just incredible. Third, ninth here the last 2 times.
It's like 17 out of like 23 majors or something. He's finished like top 15 or something like that. It's ridiculous.
Oh, it's like extremely high clip. And at 8,400, if they made him, like if they flipped him and Louis, it would have been more of a conversation. But when you pop him down at 8,400, I think there is upside there. The other couple that stood out for me here, Patrick Cantlay. So you didn't mention him, but I know, the win at the Memorial can get taken away by some due to the fact of the aforementioned Rahm withdraw after round 3. But Cantlay still had to go out and do his thing. He's been solid overall form. Besides that, 41st, 12th at the Open is his history. So I think he can get around here. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. And usually with Cantlay, it's the same issue we always talk about. We don't have Decky here, but Cantlay is very similar in a sense of a wonderful ball striker. He puts it in close. And what you're mad about is that he's missing the 12-foot birdie putt and making par, or the 8-foot birdie putt. But if he's making those pars here, those will go a long way. So I think that can add up. I like your read call just for the fact he can get hot with the putter, solid short game, around the green, everything that goes there. And then lastly, what are you doing here, Kenny, with Paul Casey? Because for once, he's not 7,900. They changed the price completely on him and Answer. They didn't just throw them both in at 7,900 as always. Casey never really flashes at the Open. But if you look just and see, coming in off he's coming in 3 top 7s in his last 4 outings worldwide. So I do kind of like that about him.
His Open history is just too bad for me. I'm not going to play him at that price. If he was 7,600, like Answer, then maybe. But at this price, I'm probably not going to pay him. I was wrong about Tony. It was 9 of the last 14 majors. He's finished top 10 still. It's fucking incredible. One guy I did miss that I think could be a low-owned GPP gem down here is going to be Justin Rose. Another guy who excels on links-style courses. No one's going to play him. He's going to be single-digit owned. And he could win somebody at GPP. So I'm a fan of him. Stats, again, I'm not even looking at him because they fucking suck for him. But 20th, second, 54th, 22nd, 6th, 23rd in his last 6 Open championships. The guy can play links course as well. And I will take a flyer with him in single-digit ownership this week. Let's go to the 7K range. Up top, I sort of like my favorite play is probably going to be Joaquin the Dream Neiman. I like his low ball flight. I got him there. I got him at like 60 or 70 to 1 a while ago. I'm still going to ride that. He's coming off a good performance in his last event, 72 holes without a bogey until the 73rd hole, of course. So I like Joaquin the Dream. Again, another guy who, isn't the best putter in the world, but he avoids the 3 putts. He lag putts pretty well. He avoids the bogeys as much as he can. Again, I worry a little bit about his around the green game, but at this price, I can get down with Joaquin Neiman down here. I like Matthew Fitzpatrick, who came off the playoff loss. What a shitty day for Fitzpatrick the other day. He had tickets to the Euro.
You mean for England? Period.
I know. I want some money on Italy, so I like it. You know what I'm saying? Muy bellissimo. You know what I'm saying? So I was a fan of that, but he had tickets to that game. They lost. He lost in the playoff. All that stuff. But again, the short game is going to be there for him. He hits enough fairways out there. If the fairways are firm, he can get that nice little roll, not be too short compared to everyone else. So I like Fitzpatrick, and I like Sergio. The form seems to be getting a little bit better. And so, again, another guy with a really good Open track record coming in with pretty good form. I like Sergio down in this upper range. Who do you like in the upper 7K range?
I like a lot of the 7K range in general. So where I
didn't
name as many up top, it'll be
like
very long-winded. And I will say this too, because we're going to get into it later, as I mentioned with these low-end 6K plays. I just think that, you don't have to dedicate your entire portfolio to that, because there's plenty of ways to get there without even ever going down there. And there's some that make sense, and we'll go through them. But like I said, when you look up here, one guy you didn't mention is the defending champion golfer of the year, Mr. Shane Lowry. I wonder who will be more popular. Yeah, I think you have to. I think he's decent enough form coming in, still has the same game that works for these links courses in general. It's strong hands, good around the greens, scrambling, can make putts, doesn't make a lot of mistakes, plays well. And, the price is $7,900. It seems a little bit crazy for a guy with his skill set. And it wasn't really, in my opinion, a fluke that he won. If you remember, I bet him last time out in 2019. A lot of guys did. I think that was a pretty obvious spot. And Brooks Koepka, who was battling it out, Fleetwood, those guys were chasing him, came back. And Brooks even said, don't mess with Lowry. This guy's good, man. It wasn't no fluke that this guy just showed up. And so I definitely like that. I'm not sure, like you mentioned with Fitzpatrick just coming off that second place, it kind of feels like he could get a little more popular. And I actually do like Lowry more. Leishman. So here's my thing. My thing on Leishman. Since Bubba's out of the event, I'm just going to play Leishman instead because he's basically the same thing. He's extremely boomer bust. His open record, he's got 3 of 6 where he's basically finished top 6 or better. The rest are like 60th, 53rd, and a missed cut. And if you remember, he did have a win with Cam Smith this year at the Zurich Classic. You know, it's a split win, but still, it's got to feel pretty good. He even said, like, honestly, I came out lazy off the break. He said, I wasn't really doing my best. I really turned it back on. Since then, he's done pretty well. So I think he's a guy you could go to. Jason Day, I know you mentioned Neiman here because you like the low ball flight. It all does make a lot of sense to me, everything you just said. But Jason Day is a 14th and a 10th. I thought after the 10th place, his back looked pretty bad, but then came in a little extra week of rest right before the Open. He's got 4 to 5 made cuts here with the last 5 with all being 27th or better. And then Sergio, I'm glad you brought him up. People just never want to, I mean, lately especially, haven't wanted to play Sergio in majors, and for good reason, probably how it's been. But probably one of my favorites here when you think about the other guys that people are going to play in Neiman and Answer. If you look to long-term proven stuff like I always look at, the form isn't even horrible. He's coming in 17th, 19th, and 20th. And very much like Adam Scott or Justin Rose, that sort of open history, 9th here in 2011 when they played it at this same course for Sergio, give him a little bit of the feel goods and go back with that. And I think that's sort of it up here. The other thing with Neiman, who you mentioned, don't forget the bogey-free 72 holes in Detroit to then bogey the 73rd and lose in the playoffs. So he's certainly feeling good coming in. I don't hate that, Kenny. I just like some of the other guys a little more proven around him.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at, I like Sergio a lot this week. I'm definitely going to play him a bunch, and I like your Lowry call too. Now going down a little bit lower, I really like Harris English. Shockingly, he's one of the best players in the field in the last 50 rounds. Grinding out guy. You saw what he did at the U.S. Open. The form is there, 4th and a 1st his last couple of events, and at that price, I mean, it seems definitely worth it to give it a shot. I wouldn't even think about trying him in cash this week. I think he's made the majority of his cuts at the Open Championship, even though he hasn't played in a while. I do like his game for this. Of course, if you're going with the accuracy portfolio, he's one of the best out there off the tee. So I do like Harris English at 7,300. My fellow Korean, I got to play him. He's coming off a win at the Open Championship. Little Min Woo Lee. Got to throw in some Korean love out there. I'll probably play him a little bit. Poulter again, another English guy out there who had good form coming in, played well last week. And I like Berger. The thing about Berger is how popular do you think Berger is going to be this week? I mean, is he going to reach 20%, 25%? If that, then it might be worth a little bit of a fade. But the thing is, another guy who plays well on windy courses, difficult courses. He has that low ball flight that I like for this type of event. He might even be worth it even if he is going to be chalk. We'll have to see when it comes down to the ownership and all that stuff. But I'm definitely thinking about little Berger action down there as well.
Min-Woo Lee, born in Australia, by the way.
Yeah, he's Korean though. Yeah, I was born in Korea. I'm American.
Yeah. I just like to come at you, Kenny, when I can. When I wonder where you just make up everything right as you go along. So I had to double check your facts. I was like, I thought they just said that, but I do think Berger's going to be extremely popular. So I put it in my notes here. Like it does seem like a bad price, but at the same time, I think he's someone that you could, unless everyone sort of goes crazy here and just says the same thing I'm about to say and says that it's a terrible play in single entry. It's going to be even higher owned than that in something like these large field $10 milli makers. It's going to be popular in that. And you can't just build all the same lineups with Rahm, X, Berger, Sam Burns, who we'll get to later. If you put all these same guys in the same pool, obviously there's going to be trouble. The other thing, back to my original point, Kenny, is the $7,400 and down range is extremely loaded, right? Even down to like 6.8K, I can still name some guys. So I don't think you need him. I like your Harris English call quite a bit. He might also be popular here based on what's happened lately because he's coming off a win, 3rd, 14th, 4 to 5 in the Open. But I still think he's a good play. What were you going to say?
I forgot about Grace. I think Grace is another good pivot down there as well. He's coming off a pretty good couple of weeks, with good form coming in. I think he's the 7th and the 4th in 2 of his last 3 events. He has a 6th place here before. He's made 7 of his 8 cuts, 8 of his 9 cuts at the Open Championship. Another cash guy that I think you could play in cash this week.
Yeah, I do think he's fine as well. I had some trouble picking through some of these guys down there and actually taking a stand right now. But one guy I was going to bring up, man, I hate to go back to him. And we've said this plenty in the past, the F in Finau, Fleetwood, Fowler, Fitzpatrick. I always say it, the F stands for fraud. And it proves right more often than not. But Fowler, very creative type. 8 of his last 9 made cuts here, even during sort of the slump and the bad run. Odds, it was odd to me, sorry, that he didn't play in the Scottish last week. He usually does go over there and get primed up. I don't know what the case was there, maybe some appointments for the baby or who knows what's going on. But we always have said, and people have always mentioned that this would be the best place for Fowler to get a major. And he's priced at 7,300, which is fair. Also, these guys do get a little extra we always see it and we forget about it. Like Hideki needed a major, finally got one at the Masters. Like it can just happen out of the blue or a little bit out of nowhere. He kind of had it back and forth when we talked about him switching back to his old swing, but not a guy I love. I just wanted to bring that up here because you mentioned some of the other guys, Rose, Scott, Day. Some of these guys Sergio just have great history in the Open, and Fowler's no different. So he lines up there. The lefty, Bobby Mack. I know you like this guy. I could get behind this. 6 for 6 in made cuts at majors. 5 straight made cuts, including a T18 in Scotland last week. 6th at the Open in 2019. Certainly has upside. He's a grinder. He's got the creativity for the game. So I think he makes a lot of sense. And then you can pick and choose between Poulter, Noren, Grace. You kind of mentioned, some of those guys, but if you look like Noren before the miscut at the JDC there was looking pretty good. He said when he got up there, he had a feel for what it was like to be in the top again. So if he could just get through the first couple rounds, have a decent moving day, he could make some moves on Sunday and definitely can grind it out. He makes a lot of sense there. Grace, who you like. Brian Harman, what are you doing with him? So this is the ultimate course history versus recent form battle, Kenny. I usually side with recent form, but here we've been talking more about Open history. His form was great before the 10.4 DK tag just blew him up last week. It was just too much to handle at the John Deere Classic. 10.4K Brian Harman, miscut, see you later. I know you used him in cash, probably why you did so well in GPPs, because you always talk about fading those guys and getting off them in your tournaments, and that made a lot of sense. His Open record reads 4 straight miscuts with a 26th back in the day. So any chance you go back to Brian Harman here now that he's dipped down to 7,100? He has been pretty good this season.
No, I'm good on that.
Okay.
I'm not.
Couple more. No, that's good. I want to give you a couple more then at the bottom here. Corey Connors and Martin Keimer. Any love for those guys?
Connors just doesn't seem like the Open Championship is his type of format. I'm not down with Connors. Keimer, maybe. He showed a little bit of life. I think he missed a cut last week, but before then, he had a little bit of life. He came in second, I think, at the Irish, if I'm not mistaken. I know it's Mayo's boy, so I was going to ride him a little bit. So I do like Keimer a little bit. I'm probably not going to play the other guys you talked about.
Yeah, Keimer was in Germany, by the way. But yeah, the Kevin Na withdraw got him in. He needed the top 3 non-exempt last week at the Scottish. He did not come through in the clutch with that. But he did get in based on Kevin Na not coming over. So still nice to see. He's talked about wanting to be here. And his Open record is actually really strong. 6 of the last 8 made cuts after missing the event in 2019. So I think that makes some sense there at 7,100.
All right, let's go to the 6K range. I got Lucas Herbert, the Aussie, as my final cash game cornerstone. He's coming off a 4th place last week and a win the week before in the Irish, 4th in the Scottish. The form is there. He made his only cut at the U.S. Open at Carnoustie. Not an easy course. Finished 51st, which is respectable for a player like him. We're going to see probably the same type of carnage we saw that week. So I am in on Lucas Herbert as my final cash game cornerstones. So my 4 cash game cornerstones this week. They are going to be Brooks Koepka at 10,700, Hatton at 9,000, Reed 8,800. The crown is coming back up a little bit, and then Herbert at 6,800. No, they still leaves you $14,700 left to finish out the rest of your lineup, which is plenty of cash to do what you need to do. Other guys I do like in this range, I'll go back to Stuart Stink. The guy's just been playing well. I can't not go with him. He's won here before. He knows how to play U.S. Opens. He has a ton of experience. I don't mind playing that old head up in here. Matt Jones, another good win player, Aussie, really, really good around the greens. One of the best in the field around the greens. I like him as a very, very low-owned guy that you can go to in this higher 6K range, dropping down a little bit. I like I might throw a little bit of Hoffman in there at 6,700. I could play him. And then going down even more, I like a bunch of guys down low. If you go, there's let me skip down here real quick. Let's go first with some Koreans, Chan Kim. I'll play a little Chan down there. I got to play another Korean, so I'll play him. Other guys that I like down here is going to be Johannes Veerman. That's a weird name for an American, but he's an American, I'm pretty sure. And
you sure he's not Korean?
No, he's coming. He could be honorary, maybe. If he finishes top 10 and I win that bet, he could be honorary Korean in my book. A couple of top 10s in a row in the Scottish and Irish. I'll risk that coming in at $6,100. Another guy, what's his name? Ryusuke. No, that's not him. Rakuya Hoshino. 4 wins in the past year. 26 at the U.S. Open. This past year, 6,100. I'll throw a long dart at him as well. Who do you like in the 6K range?
Is he going to the Olympics with Hideki, I believe? I think he is.
I think he is,
I
yeah.
saw that.
He's 80th in the world, and he's priced 165th or something like 155th, 150th in this field. So he's 80th in the world. He's
got to have a little bit of strength. You saw him out there a couple weeks ago. He's a little jacked up out there walking around the green. So I don't hate that. I like the Veerman call down there. You mentioned the couple most recent results, but the guy I liked at 6,100 was Dean Burmeister. 7 of his last 8 cuts worldwide. 1 run in there that includes 6th, 4th, and a W, and a sneaky little T35 in Scotland last week. He seems cheap for my end. We got to talk about a couple other guys, but I'll give you some others there. I like the call on Stewie Sink. 2 wins this year, guys battling back. 20th, 24th, the last 2 opens in 19 and 18. So even the recent stuff he's been doing before these wins showed up again at opens, you talked about his past, his history, obviously makes a lot of sense. So I can go back to him. And then one common theme, Kenny, we've always said, some are probably new to the show here because we're getting out on YouTube now on Mayo Media Network, but we always talk about places that Rahm does well, Ryan Palmer does well. And it's always been the thing. And guess what?
He balled out last week, bro.
He beat Rahm. He
balled out last
week. When you expect them to both play good, which Rahm makes sense at the Scottish Open and here, he came T4 to Rahm's 7th. So he just did it again. And I think he probably fits some of the trends of the old guy coming in and seeing some of this stuff happening. So that makes a lot of sense to me. I like your Hoffman call. Keegan Bradley, another guy. This is a boomer bust play. We know it, but he's you mentioned Brad Messersmith. We got to bring it up at the 250th episode. How can I not bring up Keegan Bradley? 5 of his last 7 open cuts with some top 20s sprinkled in there. Definitely having a boom bust season. Like if you look at his short game, it's been up, down, all around as always, but 4 more T18 or better in his last 16 outings that include a couple of top 4s. So I do think Keegan makes some sense. And then my last guy before I open up the conversation to you, and then I'll give you a quick little list, but Ryan Fox, 44th in Scotland last week, 3 top 14s or better in 3 of his last 4. He's definitely got a strong links record. And if you go back to his last 4 opens, 3 of them, 16th, 39th, and 49th. I think he makes some sense. Other Euro shots, Kenny, I'm taking are Antoine Rosner, Matthias Schwab, and Veerman, who you mentioned. And then other guys, sort of PGA shots I'm taking will be Gooch and then Glover coming off the win. You just never know. But what are you doing with Sam Burns? Because Sam Burns is going to be the topic of discussion. $6,300. Talk about him here for a second. I think he's going to be extremely popular just on a guy that's priced too low. 18th in Scotland, 13th the time before that. I don't know if you got to fade him completely, but what are your thoughts on him at 6,300 and being popular down here?
Yeah, well, like I said, I think he has 0 Open Championship appearances. This will be his first. The only guys I'll think about with that are going to be that play predominantly on the PGA Tour are going to be Hovland, Morikawa, and Scheffler. I don't even know if I'm playing those guys. So no Burns for me.
What about Willie Z, though?
Yeah, no Willie Z either.
Okay, just making sure. Had to double check. All right, man, that's I think it. That's all I got at least for the time being, right? There's a lot of guys you can play down here, but I guess last thing I would say just strategy-wise was that, like I said, we talked so many in the 7K that you don't have to force this down here if you don't want to, but definitely you got 150 lineups or something like that. I think you should definitely try and make some of your favorite plays work with one of your favorite guys, needle in a haystack down below.
Yeah. Let's go to bets. Now, first off, I will say I only have a couple that I made that weren't futures just because I'm waiting on the weather draw. That's going to be a big deal when it comes down to it. When you see the draw and then you see the weather, that's when I'll make more bets. So I'll probably have my final betting card on Gup's Corner on Wednesday. with a little bit more. But as of right now, I got Koepka at 18-1. I think everyone's betting him. I don't understand why you wouldn't.
I also have that.
Yeah, I don't understand why you would not bet Brooks Koepka at 18-1 at this event. You just sort of have to, I think, when it comes down to it. I got Hatton at 33-1 this week. And then I got two futures, Hovland 50-1. And then I have Neiman 65-1. So those are going to be my 4 bets so far. I'll probably add 2 or 3 more as the week goes on, once I see the weather draw and see if there's any type of wave advantage. I know it's probably going to screw my numbers a little bit unless someone drifts. I'm thinking a little bit about Justin Rose. I saw him at 65-1. We'll have to see with the weather draw down there. I just got a feeling about Rosie this week. I think he's going to be very, very low owned, and I think he's going to make a great GPP play. And then, of course, I say this, he'll probably miss the cut. But on the number, because that's how I roll. It's not like my guys missed the cut by like 18. They missed the cut on the fucking number because they fucking miss a putt or bogey 3 of the last fucking 4 holes. That's just the way I roll. So I think that's probably what's going to come down to. But we'll see who else I bet as the week goes on. Go ahead.
My card feels similar just because it's guys that I'm betting that I don't know if I even really want to play them, but I just like the numbers for betting them. And like you said, then draws could come in and we'll see what happens. But Brooks, 18, like you mentioned, who didn't bet that? It could be a community win.
Everyone bet Koepka 18-1. Yeah. Just do it before it goes down to 12 by the end of the week.
We had Brooks at the Waste Management. We had JT at the Players. There's been some nice little community hits out there. There's more than that, just to name a couple where it was just all based on number only. Rory, I think at Quail, people got on too. Like that one made sense. Cantlay, 35. I like that number on Cantlay. Morikawa was there too, but I just went with Cantlay. I think makes less mistakes. I don't necessarily need his putter to show up completely. Like I said, he can get through and just make those pars and grind and then maybe have one good day that propels him and gives him a shot. And we get some run good down the stretch and see what happens. Berger, 66 with the T8 each way. English, 75 with a T8 each way.
Ooh, that might be one I tail. I like the English 75. I have a feeling about it. I think I'm going to use them in cash. So I just gave you like 5 or 6 this week. There you go, guys. There you go.
Again, for those new to the channel and just tuning into our show, it's Kenny gives you 4 cash game cornerstones every week. But usually when Crown is involved, you get at least a 5th, if not a 6th, because now you can just find out what the last guy is, rewind the pod back, find out who you really talked about at that number, and you'll know pretty quickly. So thank you for your cash game lineup this week, Kenny. We do appreciate it. Man of the people. Lastly, Martin Keimer. We mentioned him.
I can't steal that from Tim. I can't steal that from Tim. I can't steal that.
150-1 with the T8 each way. I don't care. Just taking it because probably doesn't come true, but you never know, man. Dreams do come true at some times.
All right. Well, I think that's going to be it. You could find me. Oh, no. One and done. I got fucking Hatton left. Hatton.
Okay. I got to look. I didn't look. I used Harmon last week, and that crushed me. So, if you got a big dog up top, go ahead and use it. Otherwise, I'll probably mess around with English, who we mentioned. Maybe go to someone like Morikawa, Fowler, just go off the board completely. I don't know. I haven't looked what I got yet, but that's sort of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I got Ali Reedy too, so I might use Fatrick out there. We'll see. But right now, I'm leaning towards Hatton out there. As long as he pops the thumb when he makes a bogey, we should be good to go. I'll probably go Hatton on that. All right, so that's going to be it. You can find me on Twitter at KendoVT. You can find me at gupscorner.com. I write my course preview out there with stats to look for, trends, all that's on there. There's some strategy to be on there. I'll give update that's already out. I'll have updates to the course on Wednesday, wave stack possibilities on Wednesday, my final betting card out there. It's possible that I change my cash game cornerstones this week. I rarely ever do. The thing about when it comes to my cash game cornerstones is I just feel like, as the week goes on, if I find something that makes me not like them, I feel like I still have to use them just because I just said it on the podcast. But this week with the possible wave advantages and stuff like that, it could change. Make sure you go to gupscorner.com, check all that out. I also do my favorite GPP plays in every price range down there this week. And then you do get a 7-day risk-free trial. So if you join now, you can risk-free try it out for the Open Championship and check it out. So go over the Gup's Corner.
We just told everyone you're a man of the people. If they change this week, you got to tweet them out, Kenny.
I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll see.
You gave everyone a 6 out of 6, and now you're going to go back on it. No, I'm kidding. But, hey, if you do change them, just let people know. That's all good. Everyone likes to know what's going on. You guys can find me on Twitter at ToeTagAndTambo. Hit me up there if you got any other questions. Of course, remember to head on over to fantasynational.com. Use promo code. It's fantasynational.com/FGG. No promo code, sorry. And get yourself 20% off your first month.
All right, that sounds good. I got a little bit of cocktail. Let me crush this real quick. Let me light up a cig real quick. Hold on before you end it. Light up a cig for Pat Mayo. All right. Open Championship Week. One of the best weeks of the year. It's always going to be fun. You got to love the morning golf when it comes down to it. Now that I love the morning golf because my job is like, I get up at like 5 in the morning every day, so it's fucking perfect. I'll just watch it at work. Don't tell my boss. Let's win some motherfucking money. Degen Nation.
I've been getting dirty money, Jordan Belfort.